Okay, page 16, contrast bath. And the idea behind this is hot water and cold water. And you can do it on your feet, you can do it on your hands, but our superior treatment that we do it with is for sinus congestion. Do I have anybody that has a stopped up nose? Would you volunteer to come and demonstrate? I would like to do this as a real treatment because every time we do it, it's so impressive. Now, I must say that I had one lady that she said, if I had known I have to blow my nose in front of everybody, I wouldn't do this.
Oh.
Do you mind blowing your nose? Okay, good. What we have here is a nice big basin with, this is the cold. Oh, great. And this is the warm, hot. I want you here, and what you're going to do is for 3 minutes, you're going into the hot water
Babe,
with a snorkel.
really?
Are you a swimmer?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want the snorkel?
For 3 minutes?
Yeah. Well, if my son did this without a snorkel, and he put a book underneath there like this, and tilted this thing so that he could put the water went into his nose and the top of his cheeks. Your sinuses are here and up here. And he could have his mouth out of the water, and he just breathed in and out of his mouth. You breathe in and out of your mouth with this.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, there's no treatment like this for sinus infections of any kind. It's fabulous treatment. Can you still hear me?
Your teeth bite on that, and your lips go around the outside.
Okay.
All right, I want you to put your chin in the water and see if you can stand it.
Yeah.
That'll be all right. And test this one too. This is the cold. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put some salt in the water in both of them. Regular salt. Because all of your tissue here is saline, and you just feel a little more comfortable if it's salt water. She's going to go in for 3 minutes. We're just going to do one exchange so you can see how we do this. But however, how do you feel right now? What is your experience?
I have a headache.
You have a headache. This is also good for headache. Is it a sinus headache?
Yeah, I've had a cold. And I'm still
Okay.
getting over it.
We're going to just do 2 exchanges, and then Valerie's going to take over again. But we're going to keep doing it because you would usually do it 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Now, after she puts her face in this for 3 minutes, it's going to cool down because you aren't as hot as that water is.
Okay.
And the same thing is true with cold. It'll warm up. So I am going to add a few ice cubes to the cold, and I'm going to add hot to the hot. And when she's in this one, I'll add hot. When you're in that one, I'll put a few ice cubes in there.
You don't put a towel over them. There.
No.
You just need to do a towel.
No. This looks like it's going to dip into the water, the little barrel thing. Okay. And I often just lean on the table like this to support yourself. Okay. All right.
You want me to
Go
do
ahead.
that?
3 minutes in the hot. Huh?
Can I tell them how to do it in the sink? Or are you going to talk now?
Now, as soon as we finish this,
Okay, then.
I'm going to take this off and you're going to go over
Okay.
there. And you can tell them then. Listen, I don't need to say anything else. I told them everything. So you take this.
Yeah, because you can just walk
Yeah,
on the tree.
yeah.
There's no need to.
And put this in back of your arm.
What do I have to do? I have to do this. Okay. All right, here we go.
I just want to tell you how you can do this real simple. You go to your kitchen sink. You take the one that has hot, first you fill the cold water and you put it on the counter with your ice in it. Then you take your hot water that you're going to have your hot water, the basement, you put it in the sink next to the counter that the cold water is on. And you'll have to put a pan underneath of it to get it up a little bit higher. But what's nice about that, you don't have to have a pitcher with this and drag it all over the place. You just turn on your faucet and add more hot water in. You don't care whether it turns overnight. If you want, you can dip it a little bit, but it doesn't matter. When you have ice, should be ice in here. Oh, this is the hot. Okay, here's the cold. All right, but we'll pretend the opposite because this is how I do it. My sink is here. Here's the sink. Here's the counter. This is, and how it is. Your counter's up higher than down in your sink. So but you have to put a pan or something about this much underneath this to get it up a little higher. Then you can just stand there and do your contrast back and forth and back and forth. You can just turn on the faucet, add your water, and you can do the whole treatment. You don't have any mess. It's all there. You don't have to carry any water. It makes it so simple to do. But this treatment is so profound. If we could tell you the stories that we have had in giving this treatment in different parts of the world and here, you would be amazed. But because I can't tell stories because time is running out. And that's so hard for me because I love to tell stories. But I'm going to tell you about a hot foot bath. There's about 3 ways to do a hot foot bath. This is one of my most favorite treatments. If you had no other treatment to do, you can do just about anything you want to do with a hot foot bath. In fact, in the Ukraine with the physician I worked with over there, we didn't do fever treatments. We did a fever treatment with the hot foot bath. And so the hot foot bath, the purpose of it is to relieve congestion of the head, the chest, the pelvis, nosebleeds. It'll also relax. Oh, that's right. I didn't get it there. Okay. It'll relax you too. If you're really wired again, you can also go and do a hot foot bath. Now, I'll just tell you one story when I first learned about this. Now, this probably goes back 35 years ago, maybe 35 plus, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I went to a class and I learned how to do all this. I got sick. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do that hot foot bath. So, I'm doing the way I was taught in the kitchen. You get your buckets and you have to haul your water. And you have to, by the time I got all that put together, okay, here she goes now. She's going to dunk in the cold.
No, wait.
Just take a towel and dab your face. And you really have to have it because it'll open their head up so fast. You don't really have to have it in the cold because you're only 30 seconds. But if you feel secure, go ahead. Where was I at? Oh, I was going to tell you the story. And so I got sick. And so I'm in there getting all this stuff together in the buckets and heating the water. And I finally just said, I am too sick to do all this. I said, God, there's got to be a better way for me to do this treatment because I can't haul all this when I'm feeling bad. I was doing it to myself. So over time, God gave me the idea. Yeah, 30 seconds. Yeah, you kind of want to move a little. You're trying to do a contrast, so dab your face and down in the next. Except they do have to blow. I got to somehow get out of here. Okay. We'll learn. This is our first time doing all this film and all this stuff. Anyway, so the Lord gave me over time the idea of how to do the hot foot bath in the bathtub. So it was a lady that came to my house who all of a sudden she said, I got a violent headache. And we were going to have a meeting with a group of people, and I thought, oh dear, I got to do that hot foot bath. And I remembered my struggle with it. And then right then God gave me the idea, put her in the bathtub and put the bucket in the bathtub and you can add the hot water. I said, oh, that sounds really good, God. So boy, I took her upstairs real quick. So all you do when you want to do a hot foot bath is you put your chair, and I have Oh, I forgot it. I have my old beach chair. How did I? It's in the room. I forgot it. Well, anyway, we got this chair. It's good enough. Anyway, you just put yourself in the bathtub. Put your foot bath in the bathtub. You can have your drinking water, because what are you supposed to do before you take a treatment? Hydrate. And what do you do while you're doing the treatment? That's right, because you're going to perspire a lot no matter what treatment you're doing in most cases. And if you're perspiring, what are you losing? Water. So you got to replace it, and you're wanting to clean your body out. So what is the largest cleansing organ also that we have? Our skin. Yeah, you're a good class. You're learning well. So here's my hot foot bath. Let's say I got a bad headache and I want to get rid of the headache. So I just get in the bathtub, put this in here, turn the hot water on. Next thing you know, I just put my feet, whoa, wait a minute. You gotta, with the headache, you gotta have the ice. So I am in here, and my feet are in here, and it's hot water, and what's this hot water gonna do? It's dilating the blood vessels. It's opening them up, right? And I have a headache, and what's in the head when you got a headache? Congested blood, right? So now I'm going to put the ice bag on my head, and what's it going to do? Constrict, and this down here is opened up. What's that going to happen now? What's the reaction? Think about it. It's going to pull the congestion from here down to here. In most cases, what's going to happen to the headache or the menstrual cramps or whatever? What's going to happen? It's going to go. Some people it goes in 5 minutes. Usually the most is 20 minutes. And so you sit in there, you just drink your water. I kind of lean back like this. And when this cools down a little bit, I just reach over there and I just add more hot water in. And all the mess is in the bathtub. Now what's good about the mess being in the bathtub is you'll go do the treatment more. When you have to drag water and fill water and get hot water and cook hot water and bring the ice in, you'll do it maybe one time. And after that, you'll say, I'll just go get an aspirin or an Advil or whatever's out. Because you just say, I'm too sick, I can't do all this. But if you have everything in your bathtub, your mess is there. And at the same time, when you're helping somebody else, you do it in the bathtub. Because you want them to learn so that they can continue to take their treatments themselves, and they can do it in the bathtub, and because it's so easy, they'll continue to do it. Let's say they have a really bad head cold, and so we've done the sinus treatment on them. We want to relieve the pain as well if they still have it. They can do a hot foot bath, and they can do it 2-3 times a day, because what? The mess is in the bathtub. I mean, there's nothing like it. When you finish your treatment, you can just push your bucket out of the way, and you can go ahead and pour the cold water over your feet, and your treatment's done. You get up and you can just go on with your day. Now, the other thing that is important in most treatments, especially in fever treatments and fomentations and different treatments, you must rest for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, because this starts your immune system. This winds you up. But those 45 minutes to an hour that you're resting in the bed, that's when your immune system elevates. If you get out of a treatment, you cut it off, and you run back to work, well, you've really cut it off, and you won't have as good a reaction. If you're trying to relieve a headache, once the blood is away from the head, you're basically good to go, unless it starts up again. Then that tells you you better rest. You know, so you'll kind of know how to gauge it, and you know how to teach people. The next treatment, and I've used this hundreds of times, I'm sure, is the contrast foot bath, which I just love this. This is real good. I need to probably do it over here because you can't see if I'm sitting in front of it. I'm going to fill 1 bucket with ice water. And then I'm going to take the hot water here. What I do is I fill the ice in the kitchen, and just the ice. I bring it in here, put it under the faucet, put the cold water in it. Then I slide it over this way. Then I put this under the hot water, and I fill the hot water the way that the temperature that I want. Now, to gauge your temperature, what you need to do, how I do it with people, is put your heel in first and bring it up. Then the flat of your foot touch the water, bring it up. By that time, you can go ahead and duck it in. The water temperature can be perfect, but when you haven't stuck your foot in it yet, it'll feel hot and you'll come right out. But if you prepare your foot to touching it and, you know, first the heel, then the bottom of your foot, and then finally go in, you know, it'll feel good. And you can just gauge it for yourself. I don't do any temperature stuff here because everybody's different. And so they can gauge that for themselves. Now, how I do this, I hope I don't knock this over. But anyway, this is my homemade bathtub. One of these days I'm going to make a good one. This is made out of a wash machine box. But anyway, so I soak my feet here in the hot water. I have my timer that Helena has. Turn it on for 3 minutes. This is if you have pain in your ankles, tendonitis, arthritis, whatever, you sprained it, whatever it may happen in your ankle, your foot, you put it in there, I tell you, it feels like $1 million. As soon as you get them feet down in the hot water, the pain almost dissipates. I mean, literally dissipates. So you get a double treatment here. You're helping whatever going on in your ankle, but it also relaxes your body at the same time. So it's kind of nice. You'll come out of this treatment and you'll feel really good. So when the 3 minutes is up and the bell rings, I just pick my feet up like this and I just go right over to the cold. And I do that back and forth. Usually I do it about 6 times. Or 7. I use, you know, 7's God's perfect number. The books say 6, but in some crucial things, I do 7. And so you can go back and forth. And what's nice about this treatment, think about it. You got a really painful condition going on. You need 2 or 3 treatments a day, let's say. Are you going to do it if you can just go to the bathtub and it's all set up and all you got to do is pour the water in? I mean, how easy can you get if you think about it? You're going to do the treatment, and the person that you may go help, when you show them how simple this is, are they going to do it? More than likely they will. But if they got to haul that water, you know, it's going to be another story. They won't. Now, you may be in a country or a situation that, you know, you might have to do some of that. But for the most part, you're here in the United States and everybody should have a bathtub. I know they're starting to get rid of the bathtubs and having nothing but showers, but do it in the shower. You know, figure out how you can fill that water up. The big thing is to make it easy for them and yet still get a good treatment so that they will do it again. That's your most important. Now, I'll show you what we did in the Ukraine. And this physician, she worked here with us at Uchee for, I guess we trained her for about a year and a half, I think it was. And then we had to go over and I helped them open up a lifestyle center in the Ukraine. And this is what she taught me, and I'm telling you, it works really good. She said, I'm not going to do fever treatments. She said, we don't have to. We can raise the fever with a hot foot bath. I said, oh, really? You know, that high? We can get it up to 102, 103. She said, we sure can. And so all you do is have a blanket. Oh, we're doing good. All you... because they're going to come in here and tell, the captain is in here. She's right over there. She's ready to tell me like this. So you just get a blanket like this, and then you get a sheet. Now, when you're giving it to somebody, you can go ahead and you can cover them up however, you know, because you can just go ahead and do it. But when you're going to do it to yourself, it's another story. You got to know how to wrap it. So, because I've done this, you want to keep that water right where I can drink it. I want to keep this ice bag that I can keep it on my head. And you want to keep the hot foot bath under here. So you would just sit down, you know, you get in here. This is good for flus, for colds, for anything you can imagine. And this, we'll pretend, I don't think I can move around and keep this on my head, but we'll pretend that the ice bag is on my head. And so what you do, when you're doing it yourself, you want to wrap your neck around so no air gets down in you. And then you want to bring the sheet and the blanket over. Now, the other thing is keep your shower curtain partially closed up to where your water is. Make sure your door is shut. And that goes for any treatment. You want no draft when you're giving a treatment or you'll make them sicker. So what you do is you make sure that you cover yourself up. Let's see if I got this right. Well, you can get the general gist of it. And I cover myself up because, well, I don't do that. I don't care if the blankets get wet. Because they will, but I'll show you that how I do it if you have to do it in a pack. Well, it's, maybe I'm going to do it with the fever, or with the, anyway, the thing is you're doing this for yourself. Move this chair this way. You got to be drinking, right, the whole time. You're doing this to yourself. So what you do is you make sure the blanket comes over this way. Where's that blanket? Give me the rest of the piece. You know, you just grab it and pull it over yourself. The whole major thing is get it up here and, you know, cover yourself as best you can. But you want to make sure this hand can get out. You see what I'm saying? When you're giving it to somebody, it doesn't matter. But when you're doing it yourself, you got to wrap yourself so this hand gets out and you can drink your water. And so you can sit in here and you keep adding the hot water to your feet. You have your shower curtain closed. And let me tell you, you can get the fever up real fast, 102, 103 with no problem whatsoever. And so that's all we did in the Ukraine. We did this for our cancer patients, for anybody that needed a fever treatment. I do this, I do fever treatments on my husband if he comes down with the flu, or I do this. It knocks it out in nothing flat, especially him. He responds incredibly to them. And so this is something you can do for yourself. You don't have to worry about drowning in the bathtub by doing a fever treatment if you're afraid you could conk out. I mean, there's probably been some cases like that. I haven't heard of it. But, you know, for your own safety, until you understand your body and how it reacts, you want to work on the safe side. And so if you do it in here and you just fall over in the bathtub, it's not going to be such a big deal. You won't drown. So the idea is you can raise your temperature and do all this yourself and be safe. And that's what you want to do. Do you understand it? Any questions? I'm almost.
Between the hot foot bath and the contrast foot bath.
The contrast foot bath is simply for any kind of inflammation conditions you would have in your feet or your ankles. The regular foot bath is simply for drawing blood congestion away from the head, from the chest, and from the abdominal area. This is for flus, for fevers. You're going to want to raise your fever up. This particular one works to cause you to sweat like you're in a steam bath. It raises your temperature up, and it goes after the virus or bacteria that you basically have picked up.
The contrast shower is the same for if you want to relieve inflammation.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get to the contrast shower so that I can cover some of that for you. You know, how we do it and what it's good for. I do one almost every night. I do the hot, and then I blast that. I tell myself the cold's coming, and then I turn it on. And then when you get through, the big thing is even when you're doing the fever treatment, you don't always have to do a cold mitten friction. But the big thing is when you get done, you don't want your blood pressure to drop. So you just sit up, you unwrap yourself, you sit up on your chair, and then you slowly, even coming out of a bathtub, you slowly, and if somebody's helping you there, you know, you want to do that in the beginning. Eventually, when you really get used to your body, you'll know how to go about it. Then you just stand up. You don't move quick. You stand and then you stay there. Same way coming out of a fever treatment. You stand until you can feel my body's okay. And then you know what you do? You say the cold's coming and you turn on the cold shower. And you can just grab a brush or your mitten friction, and you can go ahead and just rub your whole self. You have your bed all ready, and I'm going to show you that tomorrow. And then you get out of there, you wrap yourself in a dry blanket, and you already have a glass of water at your bedside. Your bed's all ready, and you get to that room as quick as you can without being chilled. You jump in the bed and you stay in there. I say an hour is the best. And you rest. and you do your best to stay under there. I have a hard time when it gets hot. Sometimes I'll stick out my one finger. And sometimes that helps me stay there. Same way in the fever treatment. Sometimes I can't stand it. And so I'll stick out one finger. We're not supposed to get anything out, but I'll stick out one finger, and so help me, the one finger helps me stay in there, and then I'll pull it back under. Okay, look, I did it right on time. Look, she's over here doing acrobats. Okay, so anyway, we're done. You've been a wonderful audience. Please get here early tomorrow. Oh, my slip is falling down for me getting in. Uh-huh.
So you did the fever treatment, how long is it? Only hot water without the conscious cold water?
Here, no, you, only hot. Only hot. You'll finish with cold, but that's only hot. And we just do,
How long is it?
you can stay in there for a good 20, 30 minutes in this. You know, as long as you're feeling okay and as long as you're hydrating, 9 times out of 10, 99 and 9/10 of the time, you're not going to faint.
I want to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
Her headache is gone, and she feels a little cleaner here, you know.
So it's a one, there's no treatment like that sinus treatment. We quit doing some of the other stuff because this one we get such profound effects with it. And it's easy. You can show them and they can just keep on doing that sinus treatment. It's a wonderful treatment. And by the way, I have snorkels. And the only reason I have snorkels because you can't buy them this time of the year. Helena and I used to go to the dollar store and get them, and this year, dollar store across America didn't have them. I called. I had to get an importer, and I was able to get them for $5. So if you won't be able to buy them anywhere, if you try to go in a scuba store, you're going to pay, you know, 30, 40, whatever. So these are just cheap enough, and we got them because when we do this seminar and the fall seminar, you can't buy them anywhere unless you live in Florida but we always got them at the dollar store. I asked the corporate office, how come you don't have them? They said, well, we don't know. We're just not selling them or something. But so now I was able, like I said, I got an importer and I was able to get them. So if anybody wants them, you don't have to get them now, but if you think about it and you want to do this kind of treatment and you want to make your little kit, you've got to have this treatment. All right, I'm done. Okay, thank you all. You've been a wonderful class. I'll see you tomorrow. What?
Do you sell the whole kit? Do you sell that whole complete kit?
You don't say.
I haven't done that yet. I'm asked that in every seminar, would I sell a kit? I don't know how much that would cost. You know, if you can make maybe I'll make one time if somebody, because they always ask me would I sell them a kit, and I haven't done that yet. I'm trying to stay pace with it. They want me to start selling the compresses as well. But, you know, of course, you're a man, so it might be harder for you to make all these things. But, you know, if you can learn to make them, you can use all kinds of stuff in your house. You know, clothes that you have. You can go to the secondhand store and buy clothes to make your compresses, to make the extra sleeves and things that you put on. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can do. And, you know, and if you can't figure out what to do, just pray, and I guarantee you God will give you an idea. I mean, he comes through every time. And just remember, every one of these treatments, what do you do first? You pray. Don't. Please remember that. They say if you say don't, you'll remember, you'll forget. Okay, I'll give it to you.
Is ice massage, and it's on page 22 of your of the book that's inside your notebook, right? Have you found it? Natural Remedies book. I think you got it in your folder also. Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole book called Simple Remedies, and it's on page 22. Ice massage. You take a styrofoam cup and put it in the freezer 24 hours before you need it. And of course you freeze it and get a block of ice. And I'm going to cut the bottom off. Do I have anybody with a stiff neck or a stiff shoulder? What do you have? What is it? Arthritis?
A hurting foot, no.
A hurting foot?
Months ago. Not even hurting.
I always use a knife or a scissors to cut this, because if you don't, you end up with very jagged edge, which you can, you can scrape the person. Do we? Oh, okay. Now see, I'm getting it kind of jagged there. If that touched the skin, it would be a little uncomfortable.
And where you can use it. Do not use alternate hot and cold or fomentations. The temperature changes are too great and shocking for them. This is for children and babies. You don't want to use this kind of thing. Remember, they do not understand what the treatment is all about. They can't really gauge the heat and tell you it's too hot or too cold, so you never want to use it on children. They may become restless and hard to keep the fomentation in place. And as a result of that, they can get sicker. So you don't want to do that kind of thing. Okay, here it goes. Write this down. You can go if you want to see Helena and I doing this treatment again, because this treatment has many facets to it, and it's almost overwhelming when you see me doing it. And so you'll grasp some of it, but if you go to Mountain Media Ministry / Uchee Pines, most of the time she and I come right up first. There's a lot of other talks on there, Dr. Agatha, Dr. Diane, but you'll see us doing it. And there's a few glitches in it because they called me 5 o'clock in the morning and he said, we don't have much time, but we want to put fomentations on the internet because we were expecting that big pandemic. I think it was swine, bird flu, or something, some big pandemic they expected. Well, it was really to empty out all the flu shots. But anyway, I don't want to go there. So we tried, I was scurrying up here trying to pull stuff together because he said, we don't have time, we're just coming through, we're almost there, and we have to film you. So anyway, we pulled it off as best we could, but it is the general gist. There's a few glitches here and there, but you'll enjoy it. Okay. I need somebody to be a patient for me.
Excuse me.
Okay.
She's saying that her side is backwards, we can listen back and see. Like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, why didn't I just ice it? I just thought
So anybody that wants to be iced will be iced. Okay. You'll have to take your shoes off, and hopefully how tight is that dress? Because we got to put your feet. Okay.
Question. I know we do a fermentation, but the same thing apply to doing an ice massage for somebody who has vascular problems. You do not do an ice massage on them because of vascular restrictions.
What does it
Yeah.
say on page 22?
Yeah, I don't think you do. You have to be so careful with vascular diseases of what you're applying on them. And I don't think it.
How about something like multiple myeloma?
Oh dear. Let's get into that later on. No, you're not going to do that either. But anyway, not direct. We can go ahead and do fever treatments on them, but not direct, because that usually affects their whole skeletal system. Yeah. All right. Now what I want to show you first, this is how we make the bed. This is how, the bed part, don't look at the fomentation. If you were giving any other treatment and you're going to go ahead and send that person back to the bedroom to rest. You don't unmake your own bed. All you have to do is put a shower curtain over the existing bedspread that you have, put a sheet on it, and then that bed is protected. And so after they have sweated out really good and taken a shower, some of them are still real tired and they want to go back to bed. Well, you can you pull all this off and they can jump in bed. You know, so it's real nice to be able to do this. And you can get these shower curtains I got for $1 at the dollar store. So, you know, you can find all kinds of things when you get out there looking. So this is how I make, you know, if you're in a home setting, you're going to give this treatment in the bed. Or if they have a big dining room table, you can go ahead and fix that up. Put a mat on the dining room table, you know, and it's a little higher and it's a little less back-breaking to do the treatment. So you just have to figure out whatever circumstances you're in, and if you have a massage table, well, you just carry it wherever you go, and that really makes it convenient. So anyway, I put a pillow, and I usually put a towel on the pillow because that will help to soak up the perspiration, because they usually perspire quite a bit in this treatment. Then underneath, I have a fomentation already wrapped in an army blanket, and I have a long one in it because I like to really have the long foamy for the spine. And they stay on this through the entire treatment. I never change this particular fomentation. And so I have it over, I bring it right up close to the pillow. And I usually have one towel tripled. And then I have another towel tripled. And if you notice, there's 6 folds right here where the buttocks is, where your lower back is, because when you're doing these fomentations, you have bony areas on the body, and one of them happens to be in the sacral area. So I make sure that stays good and padded, otherwise it's going to burn her. And I'll show you how we protect the shoulders and everywhere else, because we have to do that because it can get hot. But there's just a few things I'll show you how we do. So whoever my patient is, oh dear.
So you want it, it's just hot, you gotta boil it, I mean, it's hot. Is it hot now? It's hot?
Oh no, we're going through all the motions, but it's no, we're not giving a real treatment. That's not possible to do.
You put it in boiling water?
Pardon me? No, I'm going to show you that in a minute. I'm going to get there. I'm going to show you how we heat them up. Where did I go? Okay. Now when she's up here, I'm going to go ahead and turn the pan this way, and we're going to pretend, go ahead, go on down. Now what I do is I let her test the water first. I have hot water in here, and I let her feet go down and test first her heels, then the bottoms of her feet, and then finally I put them in, and most of the time they can. If you drop it down in, they're going to come right out. Now I tell you a little bit about, I made these because everybody wanted them, and what I do is I put that over there so through the whole treatment the blankets and sheet don't drop into the water, because otherwise they always, no matter how much you think it won't happen, it happens every time. Now if you can't have anybody that can cut out wood and do that for you, I showed how you can do this. You can just take a heavy piece of cardboard like this, and if you want to find a heavy piece of cardboard, if you go to Lowe's in the morning about 7 o'clock when they broke up the boxes from washers and dryers and so forth, you can get a box, they'll give it to you, and then you can cut out a nice heavy piece of cardboard. And then this is a kitchen garbage bag, and it fits perfect in it. So then I cut it out just like I've done the wooden ones, and then you just go get yourself it's pipe, what do you call it? As many times as I say it, you think I'd remember it. Well, anyway, it's pipe insulation, and you just put that over. And why you do that, so in case their legs were to touch that, you can do this if you're into a situation doing a hot foot bath and you don't have a bathtub, then you're going to want this, because those blankets will drop right down in that water every time. And so then you can just make your own, you know. So now I want to put this towel right underneath her legs in here. Then it'll rest on it. It'll also gather up the extra perspiration, because she will perspire in her legs quite well with this in here. The other thing that this does is it keeps the foot bath warm. Most of the time we have to keep adding and adding to it, but since I have put this over top of it, it pretty much keeps it warm throughout the treatment. I don't have to add anymore. However, I go and I check, you know, to see is it warm enough, and if not, all you do at that point is you make sure you have a pitcher of good hot water, and you just push your feet to the side and hold your hand there, and then I start pouring it in here on the corner, and then I oscillate the water like this with my hand to make sure that it gets around in there good, and then I put that in like that. And then I move her feet back over because the hot water is already mixed quite well. But it's a rarity that I have had to do that since I use these. Okay, now I have to remember what side was what. Okay, I think this is it. Now, when you're doing this treatment, they will perspire quite good, and you might eventually, with some, want to put an ice pack on their head so that they'll stay cool. But I never do any cold to the face or ice pack to the head till I see little perspiring around the nose and across the forehead. Then I know they're starting to really, you know, you could say sweat good. So that's a clue to me to go ahead and start wiping their face off. And you just have ice water, and you have a washcloth. By the way, when you want to do your mitten frictions, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, all you have to do is have a washcloth, and you sew it down this side and sew it over here, and then you can stick your hands in and you have a glove. So you don't have to go through a lot of expense. Okay, now I'm going to go over here. Where did Helena go? Helena, would you go back there and get the steamer? It's either, I think it's back, way in the back. I forgot to bring it. As I told you yesterday, I use the microwave because I love the microwave, and you have a garbage bag, Walmart. I'm telling you, it serves for everything, Walmart. These are my old fomentations that I probably bought at least 35 years ago from Dr. Thomas. He was in California, and he made these. And you can see I got a few little rust marks from being in the pots until I figured this out. And so they just last forever. I tell people, you can buy these, and then you can go ahead and leave them to your kids, and they can probably leave them to the grandkids because they just don't wear out. And like I said, I've used these hundreds of times, I'm sure, through the years. Now, I did buy the long one that I showed you from my friend who makes them. So what I do is you wet these down quite well. You don't want them soaking wet, but you want them good and wet. If they get too soaky, you know, just wring it out a little bit like that. I usually fold it over 3 times. You put it in a microwave bag like this, and then I just put it in the microwave. Well, let me get over here. Oh, would you believe I still have one in there from the, oh no, I have the bag. I was going to say last class, don't tell me I did that. All right, I got to set it up here like this. I just put it in here, whoops, and I kind of fold it over like this. Depends what size microwave you have, and then you just turn it on. Now, when I first do them, I usually do 2. I put another one in another bag, and I put both of them in there if I can get them in. If not, I just do one at a time. It takes me a good 5 minutes, and you know me, I will do 8 or 10 minutes to get them good and heated up. And sometimes I go in there and turn them over, you know, because the hotter they are, the longer they'll last. And then after I've done that, and I take one out, but I better talk about this first. Here is, you know, this is a canner, you know, the steamer canner, you know, that you can your food in. You leave this rack in, and you can take these and fold them up and stick them down in here, and you have water at the bottom, just like you do with your canning jars, about that much water. Takes every bit of 45 minutes to get this steamed up good to do these. And so that's quite long, and so I thought, well, you know, the microwave will just do beautiful. I can heat them up so fast. And if you're worried about microwaves, you can get a, no, I don't have one on me. You can get a neutralizer that neutralizes all the EMFs coming off of this and off your phones and so forth. I do have some I can show you later. Or you just stick it in another room if you're concerned about it. I think this is excellent when it's a small microwave. You know, if you're doing some medical missionary work and you're going into people's homes, then you can take your own. They may not have one. But it certainly expedites this treatment a whole lot faster than this. But you may be in situations where, you know, you have to use this, and I have been in situations, and I didn't even have anything this nice overseas. I just had to get a pot and do one at a time sometimes, you know, to get them getting hot. You can do any number of ways. You can bake it in the oven if you needed to. I mean, you can come, God will just give you, inspire you, and give you all kinds of ideas of ways to do this. But after it's hot and I've taken it out, and I should have a glove to show you, I would take that out of the microwave like this. Now me, I've done it so much I don't worry about it. I just grab it like this. Let me leave that like, I won't put it on there anymore. And I just take the bag like this and I drop it out like that. And I take my fingers and flip it over, you know. But if you can get your gloves, you can do it. I've just done it so much that I know how to grab and not burn myself. And these are army blankets. So if you have an army store where you can go and get these blankets, you just fold it up like this. You can fold it over this way and then bring it back like this. And then you can just roll it up and take it over here. And many times this is how we do it when we're preparing everything else. I may stick it right under here to keep it good and warm while I get her chest ready. Now, in order to get her chest ready, I have to use towels again. So I take a regular towel, and it's nice if you can get some nice fluffy ones. I'll show you the ones I have in my kit. You just fold it 3 ways, just like this. And you put it on her chest. Most of the time, if you have a nice thick fluffy towel, 3 ways folded will be just right. And what did I do? Oh, that's right, I put it here. So now I have this, and it's hot, so you got to be careful. Put it on her chest. Then I have another towel. Again, you can just see how I fold it. I fold it 3 ways, and then that's enough to, you know, trap the heat from it. Then I take the blanket, bring it up like this, and I just make sure she's covered quite well. Now I have also, what's this for? Drinking water. And I have a quart because then I can keep her drinking. And I make sure before the treatment, what is the most important thing in any treatment that you make sure is done before we give the treatment? Hydrating them well. You want them to drink a couple glasses of water, you know, before we give the treatment. And then we want them to drink continually through the treatment. And the reason why, do you remember? They'll get a good response. If they are not hydrated well, you'll have a very difficult time getting a good response in the treatment. And many times that's why treatments sort of fail. They don't do well because they're not hydrated enough. So you need, and that's for any hydrotherapy treatment, they must be hydrated well. So let's say right now, I'm seeing that she's getting some perspiration on her nose and her forehead. So I put that in ice water, I wring it out real good, and then I kind of just do this with my hand. Let me see, this way, what am I doing? This way, and then you know how you do that. And then I just, you know, I just go across her face like this and wipe that up. And then when I see she's really getting, oh dear me, I left my ice bag. But anyway, then I would make sure her hair is out of the way like this. And I would put a nice bag, let's pretend like this, put a nice bag in this bag where I folded a towel. We're pretending this is an ice bag, right? Okay, so I would, you just sew a hand towel up. This is wonderful for ice bags. You try to put it in a wrapped towel, it's so hard to keep it in place, especially if you're going to sleep with it or something. And then I go ahead and put this right here at the back of her head. Now in a bed, I have a pillow right here, and it holds it on her head quite well. The table is not long enough to do that, and then I keep it there. Now maybe that'll work okay. And then that'll keep her cool, because we want to keep her head cool. That's the most important thing in a fever treatment. You want to keep the head cool while they're in the fever treatment, because if their head is not kept cool, what can happen, not always, but I've seen it happen, is that they can go ahead and get terrible headaches or get very confused when they get out of the fever treatment. And so if you keep their head cool, keep them good and hydrated, you're not going to have that problem. So while this is going on, I also put the timer on. We're going to pretend 3 minutes just went by and it's rung. And so now it's time for me, oh, where is it? I'm going to have to use my ice bag. You can do one of two things. You can have the mittens, which right here they are, but they're also in my kit. Let me see here. You did put them back, didn't you, Helena? I put them back, okay. Well, I never straightened this up last night. All right, we'll just use this, and I'll use these. And these are nice. We do have a couple of these out there for sale. And that's just done with a washcloth, a big washcloth or a hand towel. You can cut 2 of them out and just sew them. It's pretty simple to do that. It is nice to have a mitten, because you can flip it around to the other side and give them another good cold shock, but it stays on your hand. When you use a regular washcloth that is not sewn, it gets flopped all over the place. So the mittens are very nice, or you can use a hand towel, and I'll show you both ways. I have a hand towel in here. I pick it up, I wring it out really good, because I don't want dripping cold water on her. Then I take the hand towel like this, and I hold it. I grab it here like this, and I tell her the cold is coming. And the first one is the only one that's bad. After that, they just take it with no problem at all. So we put our hand here, and we grab all of this, and we have this ready to go, and we're trying to protect her modesty as well. If she's uncomfortable with being unclothed, she can have a little t-shirt on or something like that, and it'll still work. And so we'll just pull this back and immediately throw this down. And she'll just, just for a few minutes, but she'll be all right. The next time she's so hot, she's just glad when it comes. Then I grab it like this, and I go ahead and I just do friction on her. I grab the sides and I just do it really good. And then I usually give her one more shock. And when you turn it over, it's just like it's cold again. And I go ahead and do the friction on her body. But let's say, just for the sake of it, we didn't do this. So I'll just show you the same thing. I have the gloves in this ice water. I wring them out really good. And then I do this. And so then you can just do this. And most of the time when we're doing males, we do this. And these are dry, so they're slipping on my hands, but when it's wet, it doesn't do that. And then we just go ahead, and then we can just flip them over like that and give her another little shock, and you're just doing friction. Then you have a dry towel, and you're wanting to dry her off. And why would you do that? This is ice, this is heat. If you put heat and some droplets of ice water on her chest, if it was there, what would happen? it creates steam, and then she's going to get a really bad burn. So you want to always make sure she's dried off really good. And let's say I'm putting the towel back down. I put it down like that, and then I hold this towel and just pull this right out from under her. And then I would fold up. I would take this foamy that we just used. Now sometimes, in fact a lot of times I should say, I have these things so cooked up that I can use it 2 times. That makes it easier for me. So now we pulled this out of the microwave. We do the very same thing, and you can fold it whichever way is convenient for you. And we just fold it up like this. Come over, and it's the same procedure. We put this over. We cover her up. We give her a drink of water, have her drink some good water. I can see she's perspiring. So now I'm just going to, let's see, I always get mixed up doing this. Here we go. And we just go ahead and tap her down. Then she says to me, oh, she says, my shoulder's burning. Would you get my, excuse me 1 minute. I forgot to. You on the right? Yeah, all these. Make sure you have a lot of washcloths, and this is about the weight I have the towels. You know, a heavier weight. I like them nice and heavy like that. But you want any kind of washcloth. They don't have to be really thick. These are just fine to use. And what you do, she says, oh, she said, I'm burning in the back. So all I do is pull this up, and I just roll her over, and I stick a washcloth right there, right where she tells me. Then we get going along in the treatment, and she says, oh, my shoulder's burning me. So I get another washcloth, and I come over here, and I just pick this up and put it right underneath. So that way we don't disturb her treatment, we don't pick her up and try to put another blanket underneath of her. That's very inconvenient, and that's not good because she could get chilled, and we're not going to get a good reaction, and we could make her sicker. So you don't want to do that. And sometimes I've had them all padded up because the thing was really hot. She might say up here, because this is another bony area. Also, the sternum is another bony area. So if she's complained there, I just pick this up and put this right down there on her chest. She may have another place, and she says, this is burning me. See, here's the bony area of her body. We just put that down there, and we can pat her up, and she can do just fine for the rest of the treatment, because it's where the skin is thin over the bone that she will feel extra hot and could burn if we didn't go ahead and protect her. So now we're going to take these things out, and we're going to do the very same thing again. I'm sort of partial to doing the towel because it's just, I just like it. It covers them up, keeps the women modest. The men, I probably use the mittens more. So then I just pull this back quickly, throw this down, and we're doing the same thing. You know, and then I just go real quick like that, and then we do it again. You know, you can rub your hands this way. And you'll get the hang of it after you do it enough. So then you put this towel down, hold your towel on this side, and pull it right out on the other side. You know, after we've dried her off. She doesn't get chilled by us doing that, because while we're working, it's okay. Then we dry her off, and then we go ahead and pull this out. So let's see, what is next? So now you do about 3 exchanges. Sometimes we do 5 or 6. It just depends how sick she is and how she seems to be responding real good in the treatment. And so most of the time I go 3, well, I go 5 to 6 times usually. I make sure she's drinking water again. And now I'm going to cover her up because we have finished the treatment. hold the blanket, pull this one out because now this keeps her nice and modest. And I've checked the water down here, and it's still keeping nice and hot, so that's what these covers are so good for, is to have that. So now we're going to finish the treatment. How we're going to finish the treatment, the first thing I'm going to do is take this off. And we have here some nice, very cold water, could have some ice cubes in it. And I'm letting her know, but she doesn't care now because she's so hot. And one more thing I want to show you before that. Many times they will really perspire between their legs, and she's got a dress on, I can't get in there. You just take a towel or some wash rags and you go ahead throughout the treatment and just check to wipe away the perspiration, because sometimes it's uncomfortable. But usually when there's a pillow under here, and you can actually even put a towel over it if you want, that kind of takes it, and then she's not as uncomfortable. So, you know, your most important thing is to keep them comfortable. You build their confidence up, and I've already gone through with them about the blood vessel in the skin so they understand what's happening in this treatment. And many times when I'm really concerned, are they confident in what I'm doing? Are they, you know, like, is this really going to help me? And I go through it and I say to them, now look, what have we just done? Because I've been teaching them. Every treatment I go through the same thing because I want the mind to connect with the body. And then I always say to them, are you going to get well now? You know, all this good blood just came in. All these good white blood cells are in here. You know, all this good oxygen is just coming in, and it's just carried all the waste matter back out. I mean, if you think that through, it's got to get well. It's like scrubbing a floor. You got clean water to start with, and then you have to use the mop to scrub the floor, and then you're going to empty out that and get more clean water. So when you get done, the floor is clean. Well, when you get done this, it's getting clean in there. You see what I'm saying? And so they have to see that in their minds. You know, now I've showed it to them. I give every patient a blood vessel in the skin, the picture of the skin. You have it in your notebook somewhere. And so that you can understand it and teach it to them. And then you get a much better healing response. So now we're going to finish up. And I have this nice ice water here. And I'm going to lift her feet up, and she knows it's coming, but she don't care now. She's so hot. And so I'm just going to pour this over, ask her to turn her feet up a little bit, turn them up, so I can just pour over the bottoms of these feet. Underneath this, you have a bath mat. Okay, I'm going to bring her feet down. And then her feet are on a nice dry bath mat. And many times I just take this just to dry the feet off really good. And now we're going to cover her back up because we keep her covered up. We're going to take the pillow out from under her right now, put her legs straight down. And now comes the next fun part. And this fun part is, I'll show you just on one side of her. This is ice water again. I have the mittens in it. I wring them out good. I put them on my hands. And we're going to start with this leg. We're going to unwrap it like this, and we'll just pretend it's here. I'll put her skirt up some. And we can fold her leg a little bit. Well, that's going to be a little bit hard, so we'll let it lay down. But you can bring her leg up. And these are nice cold. They've been in the ice water. Now we're going to do friction. And so this is what you're going to do. Whoops, these are sliding. You're going to do this. You're going to go up and do it really good. And when we get through with that, we're going to take and we're going to dry it off, just like this. Now we've got these back in the ice water. We wring them out. Now I'm going to take her arm out, put it there on the side. If she's good and strong, I can ask her to hold her arm up like this. And so we would just do this. Let's say she's not real strong. I'm going to do the friction. If she is, I'm gonna have her hold her arm up like this, and I'm gonna really friction it good. I'm gonna dry her off and put her back underneath. You always wanna keep her covered and dried throughout the treatment so that there's no way she's gonna get any chill. You wanna make sure the door is shut in the room that you're in so there's no drafts coming in. Same way, if you do any of these treatments in the bathtub, you wanna be sure no draft is coming in that room because it can make them sicker. All right, now, my next move is this. I am gonna bring her up like this, have her sit up, help her to sit up, and I'm going to pull this out from under her. Okay, can you lift up a little bit? This way. Now, most of the time, the wetness is here, and the wetness is on that pillow. So for the most part, underneath here, she's still pretty dry. So we do the friction, put this in the ice water, wrung out, and now we're going to just do her back, just like this. Make sure you friction her real good. Then we're going to dry her off, and then we're going to lay her back down. Now, if this towel is too wet, we go ahead and put another towel under her head, and she can just lay right here, depending where we're doing it, and then she can go ahead and rest for the next hour, we suggest. Make sure she is still drinking plenty of water and that she has water within her reach. You know, like a nightstand, or you put something next to her so that while she's in this treatment, she can reach out and still get water. But we don't want her to throw the blanket back like this because now what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen now? She's going to do a lot of perspiring. I mean, she's going to soak up the bed more than likely, and that's real good because she's getting a double treatment. She's now excreting lots of waste matter through her skin, and so she's going to get a double effect in this treatment. And she's resting, and what happens when she's resting, I think I showed you that with the fever treatment, her white blood cells are going to go right up like this. In about 45 minutes or so, they're going to plateau out. But her white blood cells can go way high to fight this infection. Now, if she got out of this treatment, jumped off the bed and went back to work, what do you think will happen? She's not going to get much effect at all. You know, might felt good here, might opened up the bronchi some, but she's not going to get the healing effect that she would get if she rested for the next hour because of the blood count raising up, her white blood count raising up. So that is so important. And so she's going to rest for the hour or as long as she wants. Now, when she is done this, what do you think the next thing would be we would do? Give her a shower. And if she's weak in any way or feeble in any way, then we're going to stand in there next to her, have a chair in the shower if need be, so that she's safe, and then she's going to shower off because she's going to have a lot of impurities. If you don't shower after any of these treatments that you have perspired in especially, then you're going to reabsorb a good quantity of the waste matter that you've just now excreted. So it's very important that she showers, and then, you know, she can go about her day if she's not real sick, you know, depending what the problem is. There is a way that you can do this yourself, and I've kind of figured this out so that when I got sick, as I did one time, I had to figure out how I was going to give myself fomentations. And so I will tell you that, maybe I can just briefly tell you, I cooked them all in the microwave, stuck them in my canner pot because that kept them warm while they were in there. I got a ice bag and I did this. Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot that ice bag. Maybe you better. Let's say this is the ice bag. I fold it into a towel like this or in the bag, and this towel has been wet, and the ice bag will make this towel real cold. And I keep that in a bowl. Next to me, I do it on the couch because the couch is lower to the floor. So I have the pot there, and I have my ice in a large ice bag. Not the little one, but the large one is best. So that when I put the foamy on me, and at my feet, I only have a hot foamy. I don't do water on the couch because you're going to spill it. But you can wrap, in many cases, you don't have to have water to put their feet in. If you put a hot foamy or whatever at their feet, it'll keep them warm. And so if you're doing it for yourself, you can do that, and you're not going to have a mess on your couch. And so I just reach down, I put the fomentation on me, and most of the time I cook these things up good enough that I can usually go 2 times for sure. And then after I take the foamy off, I dry myself real quick, and I reach over and I grab the towel with the ice bag in it, and I just bring it up on my chest and I start rubbing. You know, like that. Then I just put it down. See, I'm not wringing it in water. It's in an ice bag with this wet towel. Put it right back down, grab the next foamy, or pull this one back down on me after I've dried myself off. And you can give yourself a good fomentation just by doing that. But on the couch, or something that's as low as a couch, is what you would need to do this on.
How about a hot heating pad? You know, the ones that you order from
For your
Michigan?
chest? No, that's not. You can use a thermophore. Because it does have moist heat. You can get, some people told me they get some good reactions. It doesn't have as deep penetrating heat as the as the fomentations do. I would always say this is the best way to go, but if you don't have it and you have a thermophore, you're in some situation, then go ahead and use it. You're going to get some response. You know, you may not, the rest of your body, 9 times out of 10, is not going to, you're not going to perspire very much from that, but you can still get, you know, a reasonable amount of treatment. But if you're really sick and you're working for someone sick, it's still best to use a good fomentation that has lots of heat in it and does a lot of penetration, where they do not. But I use that thermophore, thermophore all the time for my backache. And sometimes I use it because this is something else that's kind of nice. If you are restless and you really can't sleep well, you can take that thermophore, or you can heat up a foamy. You can either lay on it or put it right across your abdominal area. And it will pull the congested blood that you have from being, you know, wild and agitated and nervous and exhausted. It'll pull it away and you'll go to sleep. It's like a sleeping pill. It's wonderful. I have done it hundreds of times probably through my life.
So do you sleep with it on?
Yeah, I just sleep. Well, with the thermophore, it has a little thing you have to hold down. Maybe we can get one and we'll show that to you tomorrow. I just have a rubber band I pull up over it because I'm not going to hold it because I know I'm going to go to sleep. And as long as I'm padded good with the towel, it's not going to burn me. And so it stays on, and sometime in the middle of the night I wake up and I throw it off and I pull the rubber band so that it cuts off.
Do you put the wool around the thermophore? You do.
Put the
wool.
Oh, no, just towel. Yeah, well, the thermophore has its own little bag in it, and so we'll show you tomorrow. Remember that, Helena, that we can bring that in here. Okay, I thank my patient.
Excuse me, you wipe both sides also, right?
Oh, yeah, I do both sides. I'm just showing you this side but yes, we do both legs and we do both arms, and we've done the chest, and then we finish off with the back.
This case was pneumonia or
Yeah, we could say she was bronchitis, or she had, pardon me?
chest pain?
Well, it depends. Yeah, if she had some chest pain, we could do that. But we can do abdominal. She can lay on her stomach, and we do back if she has back pain. We do the same thing, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And it just depends what the pain is. If it's really bad muscle spasms, we just put a hot one on there for 20 minutes. And that usually relaxes all the muscles and the spindles in the muscles, and it really is very well. I've done that on me. Again, probably hundreds.
Hot and cold, or just when you give her the shower after?
It's just a good neutral shower, because we want her also to use some soap and wash off good, because we want all those impurities to be taken off. Okay, we're going to move. You're doing it here?
Keep that on and you tell them about this is the salt glow. So you tell them.
Okay, we're not going to do anybody, right? Or are you going to do their elbows?
Yeah.
Okay. Our next treatment is going to be, here we go. We're going to do Salt Glow. Anybody? Now this treatment is the most amazing treatment in terms of it's real good for your skin. It'll get rid of all these hard calluses or rough skin you have, and it'll give you nice smooth skin. But the other thing that this is so good for, and I think I have it in here, is if you're tired, if you're exhausted. Now do this in your shower, because the mess again is in your bathtub. I mean, do it in the shower or the bathtub, because the mess, oh, what happened? He didn't, give me a minute. I have to find the arrow, John.
Keep going across the other side.
This way?
Other side.
This way? Oh, there it is. Okay. I like to know how that thing gets out of control. Okay, here is salt. It's good to have the good kosher salt, like a coarser salt. Pickling salt is a good salt to use. But if you don't have either one of those salts, just use a table salt, just fine. Here it is. How can it help? It improves sluggish circulation. For general weakness and low endurance, you can be so tired and so exhausted. You go in the shower and you do a good salt glow all over your body, or you can actually do loofah or a body brush, and you go ahead and you just vigorously do this all over your body, and then you do a hot and cold shower. And you know what? You'll walk out of there like, I just woke up, and you'll feel good. Why? Because it's doing just what I said here. It's improving the sluggish circulation. You're getting your blood flowing really good. You're getting your blood to the surface of the skin. And so, good for low blood pressure. If you're suffering from low blood pressure all the time, then you can go ahead and use this, and it'll help to bring up the blood pressure. If you're having frequent colds all the time, then you want to do a treatment like this on a regular basis. And I'm going to talk hopefully about the hot and cold shower, because that is wonderful. Chronic indigestion, it works well, and again removes dead skin.
Page 24.
Page 24. So here we go, 2 pounds of coarse salt for sure. Get in the bathtub. If you're too weak to stand, then sit on a stool, and you can do this. And if someone else is helping you, they can go ahead and do it for you. You can put your feet in a hot foot bath at the same time. There's any number of ways that you can do this. And Helena is going to, now this is the only time you don't. You got skin lesions, which means cuts or blisters or eczema. You're not going to want to use, or psoriasis, you're not going to want to use salt, because what would it do? It'd break it open. Yeah, you'd be in worse shape, And if they have a very debilitating disease and they're very weak and sick, you're not going to want to do this. It's too rough of a treatment for them. Okay, Helena's going to she's going to show you how.
We're going to add just a little more.
Anybody want to come up and just do their elbows? You can, if you have, is that what you're going to do? Okay, she's going to show you.
The roughest part.
Yeah, usually your elbows are your roughest, your heels are rough, your knees many times are. And you're just going to rub it on there good. But when you're doing it in the shower, you do your whole body. You get your hands wet and you get it in there and you just rub yourself. But like I said, if you don't have salt, you can go ahead and use a loofah, a body brush. Well, you'll get some results. And if you feel your roughness of your elbow, and then after you do this, you feel it again, and you'll feel how smooth it is. Okay, we're going to go on to the next one, and this is one of my favorite, and that is charcoal. And charcoal is the miracle, as it says here, of adsorption. That's different than absorption. Absorption is with a B, this is with a D, and this is what it does, and I will show you what it does. Now, when I do charcoal, I have another kit. And everything that you see here is in here. And my charcoal's in here too. I have it in a container about this size that I keep in there. And so that if I have any reason to use charcoal, again, all I have to do is go get my kit, and everything is in there for me to do whatever. Charcoal is on, yeah, it's right, is it 10? Yeah, it's in the simple remedy section, and yeah, page 10. Now, to show you about adsorption, I have a big magnet here, and I have a bunch of nails right here. And so this is what adsorption does, what charcoal does. It just picks those nails up just like this. So what charcoal does is it's just like this magnet. It latches on to poisons and toxins that are in your body. This is a magnet, or charcoal is a negative force. In your body, all toxins are positive. And so it is automatically going to latch right onto it and take it out. And what it does is it holds on to it until it's eliminated from your body. Absorption is like a sponge. Yeah, you know, it'll absorb water, but you hold it up long enough or squeeze it, it all comes out, but you can't do that with charcoal. Clay is pretty much the same way, and so is zeolite. They work the very same way. This has a cage-like structure, and it just pulls it into its cage-like structure and carried right out of your body. So always remember, things that are healthy have the negative force, and things that are not healthy have a positive force. And that's why we love charcoal. I could just tell you stories after stories. Charcoal is so wonderful, but clay is very good as well, and like I said, zeolite as well. Let me get back over here. Now, one container, 1 quart, this size right here, and this is so amazing to know. This size right here, what's it say up here? 1 quart of activated charcoal will absorb 80 quarts of ammonia gas, between 500 and 2,000 square meters to the gram. Enough, this just blows me away. Can you all see it? Enough internal surface to completely cover several ball fields. That's how much poison 1 quart of this can pull and latch onto. Isn't that amazing? I mean, every time I say this, I'm like, it's amazing stuff. In fact, in Hiroshima, with melting down, the one products that they're using is charcoal, and they're using zeolite to mop it up, because it'll just latch onto all that radiation. If you go to the hospital and you have MRIs or x-rays, you go to the dentist, you do any of that stuff. I was at the dentist the other day. You just have yourself a jar like this with your water in it, and shake it up good, and because it'll settle to the bottom, and that's the slurry water. And as soon as you have your x-rays, you drink the charcoal. It'll latch onto any residue of radiation in your body. It'll latch onto it and carry it right out of your body. I'm also going to tell you what to do for flu shots with this as well, as soon as we get there. So it's just marvelous. That's a way to protect yourself, because that's what it does, and that's what they're doing over there in Japan. Let's see. Oh, here we are. It's FDA approved. Many of you may know, if you're in the medical field, that this has been used for 100 years, over 100 years now, in the emergency room, you know, because it was the drug of choice and still is for poisoning. And guess where else it's used? In veterinarian clinics. Any animal comes in there that's gotten into poison of any kind, this is what they do. Now, naturally, they can't make them drink it, so they NG tube it down into their stomach to latch onto all the poisons to get it neutralized so that it's taken out of the body. So when you drug overdose in most cases, or have anything else, you just use charcoal, and it's going to pull it in and carry it out of your body. You have an upset stomach. Let's say you just feel sick to your stomach, or you ate a bunch of wrong combinations and a whole lot of stuff, and you don't want to be miserable the rest of the night. Just make yourself a big, thick glass of charcoal and drink it down, it'll latch onto all those poisonous gases you've just created in your tummy. And you'll sleep a good night and you'll pass it all out the next day. It'd take maybe all day, but you'll pass it out. Okay, now what is charcoal made from? Well, it's made from woods, it's made from coal, it's made from coconut, and it's made from animal bones. And I'll tell you a story about that shortly. And so this is one that they're using. In fact, the Japanese are using the coconut. Now, what's the difference? Strength is the same. It's the coconut shell, not the inside of the coconut, that they make it out of. This has just a bigger surface, but the power of it is still the same as regular charcoal. It just has more of a surface, and the Japanese, you know, with the Fukushima meltdown, are using a lot of coconut as well over there. Now, this is what you need to know. It is not burnt toast. It's not a steak that you do on the grill. And it's not scoured pots. If anything like this happens, you don't eat it. For instance, and you may know this, if you grill meat on a grill, then the fat from the meat goes down on these types of charcoal, and so don't buy this. You know that bisque, is it bisque they call it? Anyway, I couldn't find the right picture, so I stuck this one up here because it's the same thing, just has a different name on it. You know those charcoal bisques that you put don't use them. It does have charcoal in it, but it also has some very toxic material in there, so don't ever grind them up and use it because you may not live. You know, depending what your life force is and how your body is, it could take you out. So don't ever use those. So what happens when you barbecue meats on the grill is the fats off the meat go down and they land on these bisques that are in there, and they make benzopyrene, which is a deadly poison, very, very cancerous, and it comes back up and the fumes go through the meat. So they say, is it 57 or 50? One steak, one 4-ounce steak is equivalent as though you smoked something like 54 cigarettes. Now, it's not the same, it doesn't mean lung cancer, it's just giving you an idea of how toxic this benzopyrene is and how one little steak can make that much cancerous material in your body. So think the next time you do anything barbecuing, it's so serious. Now, F.P. Torrey, I just love this story. He's my favorite guy. It was back, as it says right here, in 1831. He was a French chemist at the French Academy of Medicine, a pharmacist, and they were having a big symposium. And so he was to be one of the speakers. Now, prior to this, he learned about charcoal. He would go to his colleagues and all, and they all said, you know, phooey on you. They didn't believe a word he said. They thought it was ridiculous. Charcoal can save your life. Charcoal can accumulate poisons. Charcoal can help with drugs. They just looked at that like he was not with it. And so, so now they're having this big symposium, and all these pharmacists and scientists all came. I don't know how many it was. And he had a lecture to give himself. But so when he gets up to give the lecture, he says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, he sends a man to the pharmacy to get, as it says right here, 15 grams of strychnine, which is 10 times the lethal dose. So they bring it out like this to him, and they hand it to him. And then he takes charcoal, we'll just pretend here for a minute, and he puts 3 tablespoons of charcoal in a glass of water. And he again says, ladies and gentlemen, this is 10 grams of strychnine, this is 3 tablespoons of charcoal, and he drinks the strychnine. And he chases it with the charcoal. Now, you know, I embellish this a little bit because I like this story so well. I imagine when he did that, every last one of them got on the end of their seat with their eyes about this big around, figured any minute he's going to hit the floor. And so then after he gets through that, you know, he does that, he picks up his papers and he goes on with his lecture. Now, I don't think they ever heard a word he said, because I know they stayed with their mouths open and their eyes like this. They knew any minute he's going to hit the floor. Well, he finished his whole lecture, and the next one come up. I don't even think they were any good the rest of the symposium because of this. They were just so baffled. Now, I'm embellishing some of this, but I don't think I'm too far off, because you do the same thing if you saw somebody do that. You know, you'd be like, it's going to kill them, especially this group, because they didn't believe in it. And this was the only way he figured that he could get this across to him. Now, I know back in the lab, he did a lot of experimenting to know how much he could get away with and what he needed to do in the charcoal so he could live. Never had any side effects from it at all. It just latched onto it like I showed you with the nails, carried it right out of his body. Well, did he have a whole group of believers after that? He sure did. Everybody believed in charcoal, and that basically put it on the market, I'm sure. So that tells you how powerful it is. Clay can be the same, and so can zeolite. Zeolite is volcanic ash, and it has some of the same powers. When I get into a real poison situation, because I know all this, I kind of stick to charcoal, because I've done so much with charcoal. I haven't done as much with the other things. So what is it? It's pure carbon. Does not impart anything. Now, remember this, it imparts nothing to your body. It only takes out, where clay has a twofold thing. Clay will impart to the body, and it also pull out poisons. There's no known side effects except possibly one, and I have met a few people that do say they get constipation from it. I wouldn't even worry about that if I was dealing with poison. I highly suspect that it could be they're just not drinking enough fluid. But you know, if you got something serious going on and you need to take the charcoal, don't worry about the constipation. Just go ahead and take some cascara sagrada or something like that, so that you can go ahead and open your bowels and get it out, because that's the most important thing. The rule of thumb in administering charcoal is to give too much and not too little. I have never measured charcoal. Now, in your books, it will say, but you know what I do is I look at what the cut is, or whatever I'm going to put it on, the knee for pain, whatever it is. I just look at it, and then I just measure out the amount of charcoal I think it needs to be. Taking it, I usually heap a teaspoon and sometimes a tablespoon, and then I mix it in water and drink it down. If anybody was going to have any trouble, it should be me, because I have probably drank 100 pounds of charcoal in my day, because I take it for everything, besides using it for a number of things on my body. And you can do basically the same thing as I said with clay. I'm just partial to charcoal because of the fact that I've used it so much. Now, does charcoal interfere with digestion or nutrient absorption? I have many people say, oh yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Not any studies that we know of, it doesn't, that we know of. We did urine levels to see, you know, if it took out calcium and different minerals and different vitamins, and we had no evidence of that. Now, maybe there's something new today that I don't know about, but as far as Uchee pines is concerned, and as far as all the test studies that we've done, we have not seen that. Now, conditions treated. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. Infections, I've done it on so many infections. Now, that doesn't mean that you just got a new cut. If you just got a new cut and you clean it out well, that doesn't mean it's infected. So you don't want to use charcoal then, unless you're worried that there might be some particles in there from the cut and you want to try to pull them out, then that's different. Otherwise, you're just going to use comfrey or aloe, something that's healing to this cut. And when the white starts to form around a cut, that doesn't necessarily mean this is infection. That is the body healing and closing in on this cut to begin to heal it. So you never use charcoal unless you're wanting to pull something out and then it's turned into some type of infection. That's when you kick in with the charcoal. And I'm going to show you all that in a minute. Nausea, it's wonderful, wonderful for nausea. Snake and spider bites, I don't have enough time, but I could really tell you some stories on poisonous things. Very good for high cholesterol, and I think I have a slide on it. High cholesterol and triglycerides, if you take so much of it, and I'll show you that in a minute, it will bring it down. But you have to follow a good diet when you do this. You can't be shoving in the fat and the sugar and then taking the charcoal. They're going to work against each other and you're not going to really get the results. But let's say you're on a good program, you just started a good vegan diet or whatever it may be, and you're trying to really help your health, and then you do this, in about a 10-day, you're going to see a significant change. Gas, it's wonderful for gas in your intestinal. I mean, it'll just latch onto that gas and carry it right on out of your body. Wonderful for bad breath. Neonatal jaundice, I've done it with babies that have been born here or right off campus, and Dr. Agatha would send me over there, and so I would do a slurry water where you can't see it now because I shook it up, but we put charcoal in it, then we let it settle to the bottom. Then I take the water that's here, run it through a strainer or a coffee, you know, the filters they put in coffee, I'll run it through there to make sure no particles are in it. I put it in a baby bottle and I feed it to the baby. Newborn baby. I'll feed it to if it's got neonatal jaundice. Then we will get a little tub and I'll put lots of charcoal and I'll soak the baby in charcoal water. And mostly in about a 3-day period, we got the baby cleared up. And I've, like I said, I've done that here. Whitening teeth, my husband and I do this. You just have yourself a little jar of charcoal and have a separate toothbrush. Wet it, dip it down the charcoal, and just scrub your teeth really good. Let it sit there for a second or a couple seconds or so, and it'll help to keep your teeth nice and whitened. It's very good for that. You want to get rid of any kind of offensive odors. You can make a jar, could be any size, and you put your charcoal in it, punch holes in the top, and then sit it in the drawer or in the cupboard, or you could put a bunch of them around a room because it will just pull it right in. You know how baking soda, I think it is, you put in your freezer or refrigerator to accumulate oils? You can do it with charcoal. I mean, you can still use the baking soda because it works well. You know, eyes, ears, infections, conditions, I mean, it's endless. So let me go down, you know, ulcers, poisons, we already talked about. Very good for pain. You can have pain in the abdominal area, your leg, your knees, your joints. Charcoal is very good for pulling out pain, and I've done it many a time, and it does work. We're going to talk about more things that you can use, like cabbage and so forth, tomorrow. You know, it's fabulous for inflammation. I guess it's probably one of the best for liver detoxification. And you can clean your liver out in 10 days if you do it right. People that are on street drugs, people that have been taking lots of medications and pain medications, let's say you're really sick and you're in a lot of pain and you can't take it, so you take pain medication. Well, when you get out of the woods and you don't have pain anymore, then what you do is you take charcoal, 2 to 3 heaping tablespoons, well, I should say 1 heaping tablespoon of charcoal 2 to 3 times a day, you know, various times through the day. Do it for 10 days and it'll detox your liver. It'll pull all those drugs out of your liver and it'll clean it up. Fabulous for skin irritations and rashes and mini dialysis. We've had people, I had a patient who had the shunt put in and was going to be put on dialysis. Now, that's another story, I'd have to tell it another time. But anyway, when she left Uchee Pines, she didn't have to go on dialysis. We got all her kidney markers good, and we used charcoal. She had to drink a lot of charcoal. We made charcoal compresses and put over the kidney area. We've done that, and then there was a man we had years ago that we did that. And then Dr. Agatha and I and a group went to Florida to do a seminar, and we contacted him. We wanted to see, was he still doing good? Now, he stuck to the program, mind you. You know, some people get well and they think, man, I feel really good, and then they just start doing whatever they want. And he was still doing good. My patient was from a pretty wealthy family, and she tells me after, mind you, you have to do a lot of things to get this, they don't go on dialysis. You have to get their protein levels below, as low as you can get them, below 7. That's pretty hard to do because all vegetables and fruit have protein. Anyway, we got her balanced out beautifully. And she was so happy. Her husband was here with her. He was so happy. When we got ready, you know, we're getting him ready to go home because I think she stayed either 2 or 3 sessions. I can't remember. She tells me that the next day they're leaving on a cruise. I said, you can't do that. There's no way you can stick to a good program on a cruise. She said, well, I have to do it. The whole family is made up. You know, we planned this long time ago. And I said, your life's in your hands if you do this, and you're not going to come out of there unscathed. You're going to be going on dialysis. Well, she went on the cruise, and unfortunately to say, she had to go on dialysis. So silly, you know, I mean, so silly when we worked so hard and she saw the results. But she was more worried about pleasing the family than taking care of herself. So I just say that as a story to you. Nothing's worth that. Because how long are you going to live on dialysis? So radioactive radiation situation you're in, boy, you want to have charcoal stocked up so that if there's a meltdown, which I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. These little guys, I just love these little monkeys. They are off of, I think it's South Africa on an island. One time there was a really big flood and all these little monkeys lived on the main part of South Africa, but they got washed out and they landed all on this island, and the ones that lived in this flood. And so they started living on this island, but they didn't have the food that they needed. And so they would pick on these trees. They're a mango type tree, but the leaves are very poisonous. And so they eat these leaves and then they go find charcoal from the pits and things that they have in Africa, and they eat charcoal. They know to do that, but you know how they know to do that? I could tell you other stories about animals, because God cares about his animals just like he does about us. And so he put it in the heart of these monkeys to go get charcoal. And so they go around to where there's campfires and things like that. They already have it scouted out so that when they eat these mangoes leaves, they know where their charcoal is, or they might even bring a piece with them, and then they chew on the charcoal and they don't have any repercussions from it. But they love these leaves. And they do get a certain amount of nutrition, but it's so poisonous that it would kill them if they didn't have charcoal. I said, God, you are so amazing how you do this. It happened in an area also in Africa with giraffes. The leaves that they were eating on and the barks that they were eating on to get their calcium, the trees died. And they didn't have any calcium. Now, you know, they're vegetarians, and, you know, they eat high in the leaves and the bark. And God is so good. He was concerned about his giraffes. So he put it in the heart of the giraffe to get bones. That were, you know, animals dying all over Africa, you know, and then their bodies waste away, but there's still bones. And so they would lick on the bones, and I have a picture of them where their legs are just sprouted out because they're so tall, and they get down to those bones and they lick on the bones, and sometimes they chew it on a little bit, and they got their calcium. Now, giraffes can't think to do that, but God puts it in them. So that's a lesson to know. God will put on your mind what you may need if you pray and you ask him. Now those little animals, they can't pray. These monkeys can't pray that we have. But God knows their needs, so he puts it within them, and then they go ahead and do it. God is so wonderful. Okay, and in your book, let me just tell you what pages is on. I want you to cross it out. On page 11, this is the procedure. Go to the word treatment, and you'll see where it says boil water with flaxseed for about 2 to 3 minutes. You don't have to boil no water. You don't have to boil flaxseed. All you have to do is grind it up, and I'll show you that, and add water to it, and you get the same result. It's too much work boiling it up. And so just scratch that out. Maybe they've changed it in the new books. I don't know, because I've been after them for a good 20 years to change that aspect of it. It may not be in there, so you look, it's on page 11. I'm going to show you how we mix a compress. But let me just tell you this. The dosage is you know, 8 ounces of water, 1 tablespoon, 4 capsules or 8 tablets. Now the only time I use capsules, or if I don't have it, I use tablets, but tablets has some cornstarch in it. I'd prefer to have the capsules because it's straight charcoal. The only time I use this is if I'm flying or traveling, because you don't want to open up a charcoal jar while you're riding down the road or flying in an airplane. Because number one, everybody's going to be mad at you on the airplane because it's airborne. It's so soft, it just flies in the air, and what a mess you'll have. So I always carry capsules with me because I don't go anywhere in the world that I don't have charcoal. In one form or another. I won't even go visit my kids that I don't have charcoal because I never know what I might have to do for them or I might have to do for myself.
Do you use clay?
Yes, I do use clay, and I'll show you that. I even have a slurry water here with clay when you start taking it. French green clay is your best for all kinds of conditions, for tumors, for cuts, for whatever. And you can make a poultice out of it, and I've done it, and you can drink it. Now, I suggest when you first start drinking it, because it does latch on and it pulls poison, but it also deposits a certain amount of minerals and different things like that. You may not be able to handle it in the very beginning, so you build up. And you go ahead and start out with maybe a half a teaspoon, you let it settle, and you drink the slurry water of it. After you've done that for 5 days or so, then you can go ahead and you can put a whole teaspoon in there and shake it up real good like this. And you want to check the bottom to be sure you're shaking it good. And then you can just drink the whole thing down. When you've been doing it as long as I have with charcoal and everything, and I started wanting to try some clay, it didn't affect me. I just put the teaspoon in there and I drink it. Or if I need to, I've had some breast cancer cases. Oh dear, right? Oh, we're almost, oh, okay. And like I said, I don't measure anything. Food will tend to interfere. You'll only get about 50% of your charcoal. But don't worry about it. If you're getting gas or you want to take it before you eat beans and after you eat beans, well, don't worry about it. You're only doing it for that reason. But if you're taking it medicinally, then you don't want to take it near food. You want to be, a good hour and a half out from taking food. Medication, real cautious on this. You want to be 2 hours on either side of taking charcoal to latch on that medication, and that medication will not do you. And if it's an important medication that you have to have, then it's going to take it out of your body and you're not going to get the results. So remember, 2 hours on either end of it. I think that's pretty much. I put this up here. This is for the triglycerides. You take that a fourth of an ounce 3 times a day for 4 weeks. It'll lower your cholesterol, LDL 41%, triglycerides 76%. That's pretty good. But it won't do it if you're still eating all the, shoveling it, the other stuff in between and eating all the fats and all the sugars and all that stuff. This will not work. But if you're changing your whole lifestyle, you can do this to help lower your levels. Poisonous bites, and I've got to stop. But you know what? Tomorrow I have the whole afternoon. And for that reason, I'm going to show you all the kitchen remedies. I'll finish up showing you about aloe, and I can finish up with the charcoal because you got to get going right now, right? Okay. So do me a favor. Please get here by 1/4 after, everybody that can. And then that'll give me a little more time and I can finish all this up. Okay? So I know some of you students can't, but whoever can get here by then. And then we can get started. As today, some of you's trickled in, we didn't get going till after 2:30. So it's for your benefit, that we want you to do that. And then tomorrow we will finish all this up. Thank you so much. As always, you've been a wonderful audience.